Hey y'all, it's Peggy Lynn Marchetti here at Madison Creek Farms, and today I'd like to share with you one of my favorite recipes using curly mustard greens. We're getting into the fall season. Mustard greens you're going to find at your local farmer's market in the early spring and in the fall. But I will tell you, the fall mustard greens, they are the best. Because in the spring, mustard greens tends to pick up the heat of the summer. But in the fall, they start out with those cool temperatures and they just get colder, and there's nothing sweeter than mustard greens and turnip greens and collard greens, those cooking greens that has been kissed by a little bit of frost. But today I want to share you this really super simple recipe that's using mustard greens, and then we're going to throw in a little bit of some pork meatballs, and we're going to add a little bit of chicken stock, and we're going to pour all of this over some rigatoni. It's so delicious. It's my garlicky mustard green saute over rigatoni. You're going to love this recipe. So you guys come on back and join me, and let's get cooking some mustard greens. Back. So we were talking about cooking up some of these southern curly mustard greens and putting it over rigatoni. So this is kind of got a lot of things going on in this recipe, so stay with me all the way to the end, because I'm telling you, this is a gorgeous dish and it's so delicious, and it's really easy. It just has a lot of components. The first thing I want to do is I want to turn my eye on and start heating up this oil. And I want to flavor this olive oil. Right now I have probably about a teaspoon and a half or tablespoon of olive oil in here. I'm going to heat it up with just a few pepper flakes just to give it a little kick right in that oil, because that's going to flavor that oil. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add in a little bit of fresh oregano right into the pan. So I'm going to just give this just a little bit of a chop, just to release some of the oils that are in this oregano. I'm not putting a whole lot in here. Now you can use, fresh oregano, any kind of fresh herb, you use less than what you would on a dry herb. So it's really going to just flavor up this oil really nice to get ready for my onions and my peppers. I'm just going to go ahead and cut up just a regular old onion. Go ahead and cut it in half, because I don't need all of it. Now, one of the things about when you're cutting up onions, if you'll leave this bottom root on, it makes it much easier to dice. So just going to take off the outer skin. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to first, because I want my onion to kind of be a little bit of a dice, so I'm going to run my knife through it. And this one probably just a couple of times, and then I'm going to come back in here and go almost to the end. And then I'm going to claw fingers back, really good sharp knife, and just give it a chop. That ought to be plenty of onion. I'm going to go ahead and just run my knife right through it again. And then it's going to go straight into my little Dutch oven. Just like that. Cut up just a little bit too much onion. Now for my pepper. This is red sweet pepper is going to really add a lot of really pretty color to this dish to break away from all of that green. So I'm just going to dice these up. Just going to hold my claw fingers back. Just run your knife right over them. It's going to also add this really nice sweetness to these curly mustard greens. Kind of offset some of that pepperiness. Right into my oil, right in there with the onions. Beautiful. I'm going to turn this down just a little bit. Now, do you hear that sizzling? That's really what you want to hear. You want to hear that sizzling. Now I'm going to get to working on these meatballs. So what I have here is just some ground pork. Now I brought a dish up that has water, and whenever you're working with meat, you want to make sure that your hands are really washed. So you're not transferring any bacteria. And I also like to hit it with just a little bit of this, just to make sure. I'm going to stick this in I like to carry my rag in my back pocket. So I'm going to come in with a nice farm egg, just like that. Beautiful. Compost bucket. You guys have your compost bucket, right? That's so important. Don't put food scraps in the landfill. There's just so much of it. So some breadcrumbs right on top. And then I'm going to go ahead and just dice up the rest of my onion here. Throw those in with some scallions. Right on top. And then I'm going to go ahead and toss in my mushrooms. These are just some portobello and baby portobellos and some mixed mushrooms right in there. Let's get those sauteing. While they're sauteing though, I do want to add a little bit of butter. Butter actually will flavor up those mushrooms. Oh, that makes my heart just beat faster. Gorgeous. All right, so let's start working on my little beautiful pork meatballs. So right now I have a little bit of basil. Just take it right off the stem, the leaves. And a little bit of sage. Pork and sage go together like a hand and a glove. So, and not too much. And again, while you're using these fresh vegetables, you really do not have to, these fresh herbs, you do not have to use as many because they're so fresh and they're so potent. You just want to make sure that you give them a really good fine dice, because what you're doing is you're releasing all of those oils and they become incredibly aromatic, but you're releasing the oils of these herbs and they're just beautiful. All right, perfect. Maybe a little bit of red pepper in here too. Just another little dose of color. We don't need much. Yeah, I know. I have a tendency, I don't know if you're like this or not, that when I am cooking, my creative brain flips on and I'm like, hey, I bet this would be good. Let me try this. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But it's a lot of fun either way. So I don't want to make a big mess. I always make a big mess up here at the pavilion when I'm cooking, doing these cooking demos. So yeah, you know, I love y'all and everything, but Martha Stewart, who I adore and have adored for years and years and years, God gave us digits. Use them. I know, Martha would be appalled. But I'm telling you, I'm more like Paula Deen, who I love. So here we go. So just mixing this up really nice because we're going to form these little meatballs out of here. I'm going to go ahead, wash my hands again. Again, anytime that I'm working with any kind of meat, I really want to make sure a little Parmesan cheese, and you should make sure that your hands are really washed well. So now I'm going to go in with a little bit of salt, just kosher salt right on top, a little bit of coarse pepper, just like that. And then I'm going to hit it with another little, this is called Spike. You can find it at the health food store. And it's this really flavorful spice that I really love, especially in any kind of pasta dish. And like meatballs like this, a little bit of celery salt. And then I'm going to hit it with some garlic powder. A lot of garlic powder. Yeah, I know. A little bit of onion powder. And then I'm going to hit it with some garlic. So my husband and I are, my husband is Italian. And so we really like a lot of garlic. Now, if you don't like a lot of garlic, you do not have to use a lot of garlic, but we are. And we do like a lot of it, and we grow a lot of garlic. And so it's really amazing when you grow garlic and you really get to taste all of these nuances of all of these different kinds of garlic. So like this Siberian garlic that we grew a couple of years ago was really pungent. I mean, just a little bit of that garlic went a long way. It was wonderful. It tasted great. And it was this beautiful red color. But boy, whoo! Yeah, as my dad would say, that'd make your cone turn red. Now, I'm going to go with just one more little bitty clove here of garlic in here. I know I'm being actually kind of a little humble with my garlic, I think, on this one. All right, beautiful, 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 beautiful. So I'm just going to start mixing these meatballs up, that Parmesan cheese, and then I'm going to lay them right in here and let them brown. And I'm not going to cook them all the way through because I don't need to, because I'm going to show you why. Because this recipe takes a little while, and but it's so worth it. But it does take a little while because you've got a lot of different things going here. I think I'm going to add a little bit more breadcrumbs just to give it a little bit more holding power. Yeah, there we go. Just to bind that together a little bit more. Now these little meatballs, you want them to be kind of small. And you're just going to roll them in just like that. So you want them to be kind of small. Where's my parchment paper? I'm just going to start setting them out here on this parchment paper. This recipe is one of those great little recipes that you can just change so many things in this. It doesn't have to be just like mine. You can change so many things with it. It's the basics of this recipe. So the first thing I would recommend is if you do not have a really good Dutch oven like this, a good enamel cast iron Dutch oven, get one. Especially if you're going to start eating in season, if you're going to have, or you're going to be in a farm box CSA like ours here on the farm. I mean, we cook so many greens in this, and soups. And now this one is my tiny one, and I actually love this little cast iron Dutch oven. I'm going to set this out of the way and put a cover over it because I don't need any more of that. I have plenty of little meatballs for this demonstration. There we go. A little bit of sanitizer. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to kick up the heat on this. There we go. Bring it down to about a medium. Like that. Grab my spoon, the mushrooms and the peppers And the onions look so delicious. Now it's time to add in my meatballs. So I'm going to kind of scoot those over to the side to make room for these meatballs. And I'm going to add just a little bit more of a really good olive oil here. I don't need much because it's pork, so it has a lot of fat in it. So I don't need a whole lot of it. Trying to get that eye kicking. Because as soon as this hits my pan, I want them to start browning off. And I'm just going to toss them right in. One of the great things about this little recipe as well is this is one of those great little recipes that is even better the next day. The flavors all mixed together. It's just even better the next day. And I'm going to start prepping on my mustard greens. Gorgeous. So now I'm going to also add a couple of cloves of garlic in here. Now, I kind of tend to add my garlic a little later when I am sauteing something because I don't want the garlic to burn. I just want it to be incorporated into those flavors, but I really don't like it when it starts to burn in a pan. So I'm just going to give it a quick little chop just to break it up. Nobody likes a big hunk of garlic when they're biting into stuff. So this is just a couple of cloves of garlic, finely diced. Right in. Just like that. Yes, we live on a real farm, and there's been something after my chickens for the last couple of days. So my farm dogs are doing what they're supposed to do. That's right. Flippy, back pocket. Always. Always. They're already browning up. They're looking beautiful. I'm so excited. So let's talk about prepping this curly mustards. So what I'm doing is I'm taking this big middle stem right out of the center of this, because mostly that stem takes a little longer to cook, and this is a quick one. This is not one of those your grandmother's mustard greens that takes all day, like my grandmother's mustard greens was an all-day thing. And I'm going to show you a good southern recipe on mustard greens as we get further into our fall season. That does take a long time, but oh my goodness, let me tell you, Lord, 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 it's so delicious. Just cutting. So what I'm doing is I'm turning my post stem over and kind of folding it over itself and getting right at this big white vein. Just like that. Just taking it right out of there. And that's going to help me make this saute on these mustard greens a whole lot quicker. Now all I'm doing with them is just giving them a little bit of a chop to get them down to bite size. Gorgeous, beautiful. There you go. They smell good. They smell so good. When I was harvesting mustard greens for this demo, and right when you cut them and they're nice and they're hydrated, it just has this beautiful aroma. It's like fresh cut grass. And mustard greens are really easy to grow. So if you do have a fall garden or a spring garden, throw in a little mustard greens. They're so much fun, and they're really easy to grow, and I do encourage you to do that. And if you don't grow, just come see me. Or find your local farmer. That's my big thing, is find your local farmer. You know, to be that little organic farm that is in your neighborhood, at your local farmer's market. Those little farms like that are changing the way our local food systems are in our community. They are bringing this hyper fresh organic food that is nutrient dense into your community. And they're growing for you, their neighbors. They can't grow for everybody in the world. They're growing for your neighbors like we do. We grow for our neighbors here, and they get this amazing, amazing food. And then you can walk away with recipes like this that are just so delicious. So I'm letting this cook down, and as soon as I get those meatballs really kind of cooking good, then we're gonna come back and I'm gonna throw in these mustard greens, and then we're gonna kick this dish up. We're gonna put it over some beautiful rigatoni, and it is going to be dinner, and woo, then I'm done for the day. I'm taking off. Y'all don't even need me. See? Well, now our beautiful meatballs that have that fresh oregano and basil and a little bit of sage. These pork meatballs have been cooking for about 5 minutes. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to remove them and make room for our mustard greens. Now on the bottom of this pan is all of this gorgeous flavor. So I really want to make sure that I make use of that. So what I'm going to do, look at these beautiful meatballs. I'm going to set these over to the side and go ahead and cover those up. Because we are outside. I do love cooking up here at the Pavilion. It's one of my favorite places in the world. This pavilion was built from a recycled 100-year-old barn after we had a tornado here on the farm in 2007 that was so devastating. So I'm just going to add just a little bit of water here just to kind of deglaze my pan a little bit. And just a little bit of apple cider vinegar. Shake it up, right in there. Again, just deglazing that pan to get ready for these. So now we're going to put in our mustard greens. So I'm going to add just a little bit more olive oil. I'm going to add in our beautiful mustard greens, and they are going to wilt down. So you want to kind of do them in bunches. Now, if you haven't watched my video here on YouTube about Swiss chard, I shared with you guys a secret about cooking greens, mustard greens, collard greens, all of those kind of cooking greens. And my secret is vinegar that was shared with me by a lady who knows her stuff, Sarah. So what you want to do is you want to go ahead and add a cap full of vinegar to these. You want to add a good pinch of sugar, a good pinch of salt, or two, a little bit of coarse pepper, and then I am going to add, because it just wasn't enough for me, I'm going to add another clove of garlic right in there, or two, because I really like these turnip greens in particular, cooking this way, to be kind of garlicky, to have that kind of kick to them. It really adds a lot of flavor, and it kind of complements those greens. So all you're doing is giving this little clove of garlic a really good firm hit with your knife, and then I'm just going to dice them up really fine. Again, nobody likes a big old piece of garlic. Well, some people do. Mark does. He would eat it just like that, for sure. Beautiful. So now these are wilted down, so I'm going to add me a whole another. That's why I love these Dutch ovens. They are just one of those things that are so versatile. And this one is the perfect size for 2 people. Same thing. Sugar right on top. Salt right on top. A little bit of pepper right on top, and that's that little bit of vinegar. that vinegar, what it's going to do is going to break down these greens. It's going to really help. It's that acidity of that vinegar breaks down these greens, and it sweetens them up, makes them so delicious. So one of the things that I really, really like to do is I really like to saute my greens before I start adding liquid. I think it just really darkens them up. This is our chicken stock. You can use any chicken stock that you want. We just make our own here on the farm. I know, I'm going to teach you guys how to do this though. But that's what it is. You can use vegetable stock, but what you want to do is you want to pour it right in here. So right now, so this is, let's see here. I guess probably I just put in about 16 ounces of chicken stock in here, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this kind of simmer down and kind of cook those greens. I'm going to add a little bit more vinegar, just another capful, because you can't take it back. Once you add something, you can't take it back. So just be really careful what you add. So now I'm going to put the lid on this, and I am going to just let it simmer. And then I'm going to put our meatballs back in here. Put the lid on this. Let it simmer for about 15 minutes. And then we are going to plate it. You're going to see what an amazing, beautiful dish this is. And that's so simple. It's really simple to make. I know that it seems like a lot. You can even make these pork meatballs ahead of time and freeze them and just throw them into this chicken stock, a little bit more stock, just like this. So anyway, let me put the lid on this, and then I'm going to simmer this 15 minutes on a medium temperature. And then we'll come back and I'll plate this up for you guys, and you can see just how beautiful it is. And then I have at least most of my dinner done tonight. So come on back. All right, we're getting ready to plate this garlicky mustard green with those amazing little pork meatballs in here with all of those fresh herbs and these mushrooms that go on here. And what I want to do is I'm going to plate it on rigatoni, right over the rigatoni. This, oh my gosh, y'all, this is just so beautiful. I want you to see this before I spoon it out even. So this is just a gorgeous, easy one pot dish. There you go. Look how beautiful that is. And you have all of that juice. You might hear it called pot liquor. I hate that term. I don't even know. Pot liquor. That is so totally a Southern term, because I mean, I hear my accent in it. Y'all want you some pot liquor juice? What? That just makes me nauseous. Look at these meatballs. Oh my goodness. And definitely want to get the juice on here. Grab us another meatball, put it right on top. These little mustard greens. Now these mustard greens are going to add so much flavor over this rigatoni. Now, only thing that I want to do now is I want to go ahead and chop up a little bit more fresh basil to garnish it. I have some beautiful heirloom tomatoes on the side to give it a nice cool crunch as a little side dish, and some great garlic hard bread. And then I'm just going to put it right over top, just like that. And then, if I can find it, I'm going to finish it off with just a little bit of Parmesan cheese right on top. Holy moly. Woo! Yes, gorgeous, beautiful. So you have this garlicky, easy recipe with these garlicky mustard greens, the curly leaf mustard greens, with these pork meatballs with that fresh garlic and sage and basil and oregano. Then you have the sweet onions and the sweet red peppers and the mushrooms, and you're just cooking it down for about 15 minutes in that chicken stock. Lord help me. Well, all right, that is it for me for this episode Thank you guys so much for watching the video. You guys make sure that you like and you subscribe to the videos so we can share more. And next up, what's in season next week? Well, we'll just have to find out. You'll have to come back. Thank you guys.